What's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then welcome to our little corner of the internet. Today we're going to be watching a video titled What Will New York Look Like in 2040? That is not far away. That is literally like 10 years from now, a little more, which is absolutely freaking crazy to say out loud. But we watched a little video on YouTube and how they were planning on expanding Manhattan. And did I just say we watched a little video on YouTube of New York and they were planning on expanding Manhattan? I wonder if that's going to happen. And I don't know, I'm excited to see what this video is about, so let's get into it.
The year is 2040. This massive new skyscraper towers over Midtown. Across the city, the crown of the torch is already glowing. But it's not just the skyline that's changed. Beneath your feet, entirely new rail lines connect neighborhoods that were never linked before. Trains move through brand new tunnels under the Hudson, where the old ones nearly failed. You step into Penn Station.
I wonder, like, how this video was made, like, where does this information come from, how accurate this is, but you guys tell me in the comments how accurate you think that this will be.
Natural light, open concourses, space to breathe. A station that finally feels like it belongs to New York City. Nothing reminds you that this used to be one of the most hated stations in the entire city. Outside, entire districts have been built on top of active rail yards. And parts of the coastline have literally been raised to protect the city from the ocean. At JFK, you step into a terminal that feels like something out of the future. None of this exists yet. But if you look around New York today, you can already see it starting. Hey, I'm Luis, and this is what New York's gonna look like in 2040. This is 2 World Trade Center, and it might be the most emotionally loaded construction project in the entire city. Nearly 25 years after September 11th, the 6-hectare World Trade Center site still isn't finished. 4 World Trade Center came first, opening in 2013. Then 1 World Trade Center the
Wow, that's pretty recent.
year after, and 3 World Trade Center in 2018. The Memorial had actually been open since 2011, and the Oculus Transit Hub opened in 2016. But one plot has just been sitting there. A low placeholder structure covered in murals, waiting for someone to finally build on it. That's finally about to change. Construction is actually set to begin now.
Oh
Designed by Norman Foster,
So this is actually things that are gonna happen.
the tower will be 374 meters, with outdoor terraces and greenery built directly into the facade. But there's a catch. The tower has to be built on top of a foundation that was already laid back in 2010. Yeah, the architects had to design around a footprint that's been locked in for over a decade, and that foundation has been sitting there ever since. Covered in temporary sheds, even hosting a seasonal beer garden at one point.
Why wouldn't you just get rid of the foundation and make a new one? I mean, if you make a new building, how could you trust an old foundation from 2010? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
The rest of the site was built up around it. The column positions, the load points, all of it was set in concrete for a completely different design that never got built. So before a single floor goes up, engineers first have to go down into that old foundation and verify it's still structurally sound. Then they have to connect the entire new tower to it seamlessly, adapting the steel and reinforcement to match what's already there, instead of starting from scratch. Completion is expected in 2031, finally closing the chapter on one of the longest reconstruction efforts in American history. The torch is something completely different. It's a 314-meter skyscraper in the theater district, and it's a pretty controversial building. At the top of the tower, there's
I can see why, but it does look very, very, very futuristic, let me tell you that. I'd be so freaking scared to be in a building like this. I've never seen a skyscraper in my life. I think I'm going to faint when I see one. I'm pretty sure, honestly, because I get lightheaded. And you could not get me to freaking live in a place like that in my life. Like, there is no way. I could, like, barely probably step foot in that. That's crazy.
the metal crown modeled on the Statue of Liberty's flame. At least this is what it's supposed to look like. According to the latest updates, this design has been slightly changed in favor of a more simple vertical column. Inside that crown is a 90-meter free-fall drop ride, enclosed in glass, sending you plunging straight back towards the street below. It means
What?
you're dropping 90 meters at nearly 100 kilometers an hour with nothing but Manhattan spread out beneath you. Critics have called it a spectacle skyscraper built for Instagram, not the neighborhood. And the construction itself hasn't been smooth either. The project went completely dark in 2024. It ran into problems with lawsuits and there were claims of unpaid contractors. But work started again in 2025, and as of now you can see it going up pretty quickly.
Oh my god.
Whether it actually belongs to the theater district is
This is crazy.
still very much up for debate. What do you think? Is this a good addition to New York skyline, or does it go too far?
I mean, at this point, we just have to agree with it. I'm not even from America. What am I complaining about, for real?
A few blocks away, 2 more towers are planned, and they might be even more impressive. One pushing the limits of engineering and one chasing height records. This is 175 Park Avenue,
That is pretty.
directly east of Grand Central. And it might be the most ambitious of them all. Instead of hiding its structural work inside the building,
No, that's so freaking crazy. Like, it must be so heavy, so tall, so everything. I can't. I don't understand how people, like, feel comfortable going into these buildings.
they put it all on the outside, forming a huge web of steel columns covering the entire facade.
Oh, no.
At street level, they're bundled tightly together.
I don't think I have fear of heights. Well, I probably do. Yeah, I probably do. I probably have fear of heights.
As the tower rises, they fan outward, before pulling back in again toward the top of the 482-meter structure. Because all of that structure is on the outside, every floor inside is completely column-free. Pretty impressive, but there's another challenge. 2/3 of the ground beneath the site is completely untouchable. Directly below are 8 active subway lines and a Metro North rail loop. Many of them are running round the clock. So engineers
So I won't use the metro neither. Nor the trains. Good to know.
can only anchor the building through the narrow gaps between tunnels. To make that work, they designed a hidden platform of massive steel trusses spanning the entire site, like a buried bridge. Which means they're basically balancing the skyscraper on a handful of legs over one of the busiest train networks in the world.
Yeah, no.
A few blocks away, 350 Park Avenue will be even taller. The developer bought unused air rights from 2 landmark churches so it can reach 488 meters. That would make it taller than the Empire State Building. And at $4.8 billion, it's one of the most expensive office towers ever attempted in Midtown. But the most ambitious project might not be a tower at all. This is Hudson Yards Phase 2, an entire new neighborhood on Manhattan's west side, built on ground that doesn't really exist yet. And the idea behind it is very similar to 175 Park Avenue, just on a completely different scale. I'll show you this, New York's new stadium in Queens, and plenty more mega projects in a second. When working on these videos,
I'm trying to get comfortable, but there's a PC before my, like, below my legs. So yeah, sorry about that. Let's continue.
also offering a limited time deal for you, only available through our link. Thanks again to Storyblocks for supporting the channel. And now let's look at how Hudson Yards is being built. Instead of anchoring a single tower between active rail lines, engineers are building a massive platform across the entire site. The whole thing sits above an active rail yard with trains running underneath it 24/7.
I don't
The
like it.
platform alone costs around $2 billion before a single floor even goes up. So to make the numbers work, it has to generate serious money. And that's where things get complicated. Early plans promised nearly 5,800 apartments in a city that desperately needs them. But that number has been scaled back. The current plan is closer to 4,000 apartments, along with a large public park and a new school.
That's pretty. I like that.
One project that's a bit further ahead is Etihad Park, a 25,000-seat stadium in Queens. The site's history isn't exactly glamorous. For decades, this area was filled with junkyards, repair shops, and heavily contaminated soil. Some even believe it inspired the Valley of Ashes in The Great Gatsby. Before construction could even begin, crews had to remove over 200,000 tons of toxic earth. But even after that, the ground still wasn't stable. The entire area had been slowly sinking for years. So engineers drove more than 1,400 piles deep into the ground, locking the entire site in place. And now, the stadium is already taking shape. The lower seating bowl is finished, and the steel structure is going up pretty quickly above it. But not all of New York's mega projects are about building something new. Some of them are about finally finishing what the city started decades ago. This is the 2nd Avenue subway, and it has one of the longest and most frustrating histories in the city. The line was first proposed in 1929. Construction actually began in the 1970s. Tunnels were dug, but then everything just stopped. New York went nearly bankrupt in 1975. Funding disappeared and the unfinished tunnels were sealed off underground. They sat there for over 40 years. It wasn't until 2017 that the first section finally opened, extending the Q line along the Upper East Side. But for neighborhoods like East Harlem, the wait has been even longer. Their elevated train lines were torn down by 1955, with promises of
Wow, look at
Look
at that. Was that in New York? That's crazy. That's crazy.
The train lines were torn down by 1955, with promises of a new subway to replace them. It never came. Well, until now. Phase 2 is finally moving forward. 3 new stations will extend the line into Harlem, cutting
Oh, I wonder how this is gonna change the whole city.
commute times and connecting the neighborhood to the rest of the city. But even this is only part of the plan. The full line is supposed to run all the way down to Manhattan. Most of it still doesn't exist. And right now, there's no funding or timeline to finish it. Still, nearly a century after it was first proposed, at least something is finally happening. Okay, now let's check out this map of
It's kind of crazy that all of this is human built.
New York City. Brooklyn and Queens seem like neighbors, right? And they are, physically. But for nearly a century, getting from one to the other by train meant going through Manhattan first, which is basically like driving through the city center just to visit the house next door. The Inner Borough Express finally changes that. It's a 22-kilometer rail line built along an existing freight corridor. It runs through the back of neighborhoods, past cemeteries and industrial yards, mostly out of sight. Right now, it only
Nice.
carries the occasional freight train. But by the early 2030s, it'll carry up to 160,000 passengers a day. Trips between Brooklyn and Queens will drop to under 40 minutes, connecting 17 subway lines along the way and linking neighborhoods that were never directly connected. It's even picked up the nickname the Bangladeshi Express, because it directly connects the city's 2 largest Bengali communities. It'll be the first new end-to-end rail line in New York City in nearly a century that completely skips Manhattan, which probably is long overdue.
So basically, if nothing happens and none of these projects get like pushed back or something, this will literally be what New York will be in 2040. That's crazy.
Alright, let's hop over to Penn Station, which has been seen as one of the most hated public spaces in America for decades. And if you've been through it, you might think,
I've heard someone sing about the Penn Station or something, but I've never heard why. Why is it so hated?
so too. Low ceilings, columns everywhere, no natural light, and confusing signs all over the place. It's not the most welcoming way to arrive in the city. But that's about to change. A $7 billion redevelopment is set to completely transform the station. And like some of the other projects we've seen, it all has to happen while everything keeps running.
No, that's
Over
crazy.
1,000 trains pass through here every single day, across 21 tracks, all sharing the same cramped underground space. So the rebuild has to happen in phases, mostly at night and on weekends, with a temporary structure holding everything in place while sections are replaced around live operations. It's basically like performing open heart surgery on a patient that has to stay awake the entire time. There's also a design battle underway. One proposal would relocate Madison Square Garden, freeing up more space for the station. That would be a pretty crazy thing to see. Construction needs to begin by the end of 2027 to stay in step with the Gateway program, which we'll get to in a sec. That will effectively double the capacity of the train line between Newark and New York City. So if Penn Station isn't ready to handle that extra traffic, the whole system bottlenecks. Meanwhile, a few blocks north, another building that most people won't miss is finally getting replaced. The Port Authority bus terminal has been here since 1950. It handles 240,000 passengers a day, making it the busiest bus terminal in the world. But the current building has low ceilings, a confusing layout, and an atmosphere that makes you want to leave as quickly as possible. So the plan is to tear it down completely and rebuild it from scratch. But this raises an obvious problem. You can't just close the busiest bus terminal for a few years while you rebuild it. So instead, engineers are building a massive concrete platform over the surrounding ramps first. That platform will act as temporary terminal while demolition and construction happen next door. Once it's finished, that same platform will get transformed into a public park right in the middle of Midtown. The new terminal itself is almost unrecognizable. It'll have a glass atrium, natural light, 5 dedicated bus floors and parking for up to 350 buses at once. That's an absolutely massive upgrade and would reduce the need for buses to park on the street. 2 office towers will sit directly above it, at 282 and 410 meters, helping fund the whole thing. Another issue New York has faced for years is JFK Airport. In one major passenger satisfaction survey, it ranked 89th in the world, which for the main international gateway into New York City is pretty low. LaGuardia has already been rebuilt and is now considered one of the better domestic airports in the country. Newark opened a new Terminal A.
It looks quite small. Like, I don't know if I can scale it in my head properly, but from this viewpoint, it looks small for New York.
And is now considered one of the better domestic airports in the country. Newark opened a new Terminal A in 2023. Now it's JFK's turn, and it's by far the biggest project. At the center of it is the new Terminal 1, a massive 242,000 square meter complex designed to compete with the best airports in the world. The entrance is supported by...
Oh, it's not small, guys, it's not small. I mean, at least this terminal is not.
27-meter columns shaped like trees. There's a courtyard with giant boulders brought in from the Hudson Valley.
Nice.
And in the departure hall, the world's largest split-flap display flickers through iconic New York scenes. But building something like this comes with its own challenges. Right through the middle of the site runs the air train, the airport's live rail connection, and it also couldn't be shut down. So engineers built a 274-meter protective shell around the entire elevated track, essentially enclosing the line inside a giant box. That allowed the terminal to be constructed around it, above it and on top of it, while trains keep running inside the whole time. The first phase opens later this year, with full completion scheduled for 2030.
Wow.
But out of everything we've looked at, one project might matter more than all the others. Because under the Hudson River, 2 rail tunnels carry around 450 trains a day between New Jersey and Penn Station, and they're failing. In 2012, Superstorm Sandy flooded both of them with salt water. And ever since then, that salt has been slowly eating away at the concrete and steel. Engineers have been warning about this for years. But the tunnels can't be taken offline for repairs, because there's nothing to replace them. If one fails, the other can't handle the load alone. The Gateway Hudson Tunnel project is the solution. 2 new tunnels will be built beneath the river, running parallel to the existing ones. Once they open, the old tunnels can finally be taken offline and properly repaired, for the first time in over a century. Right now, construction is already underway. On the New Jersey side, crews are digging a massive launch box, a reinforced trench where the tunnel boring machines will begin their journey toward Manhattan. The new tunnels are expected to open in 2035.
Whoa.
The East Side Coastal Resilience Project is a massive flood defense along Manhattan's east side.
I thought it would be like trickier than that to just tunnel below a river, but I guess not.
And it's not what you'd expect. Instead of putting up a concrete wall...
Why can't they make glass tunnels below the water so you could see the fishies when you go? That's what I want.
Between the city and the river, engineers are raising East River Park itself, lifting the entire parkland between 2.5 and 2.7 meters above its current level. Hidden within that new parkland are over 940 meters of reinforced concrete flood walls, and a series of gates that can be sealed shut when a major storm is on the way. The northern section is already done, with new parks, sport fields and walkways open to the public. And work is continuing further south to protect even more of the coastline. So, will New York really look like this by 2040? A lot of this future is already taking shape, and the rest ultimately depends on what gets approved and built. How would you like to see New York in 2040? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to try Storyblocks, head to storyblocks.com/megabuilds. They're offering a limited time deal only available through our link. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Well. I quite enjoyed that video right there. I think it's super intriguing to see what's being planned to do, and then to see what it will actually look like. And I think it's pretty exciting that, to see these cities evolve throughout time. I mean, they've already evolved in such a fast pace that, in 200 years from now, it's gonna be, again, a completely different world, which is just insane to think about. So, yeah. And thank you guys for joining me for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next video.